I stood frozen as my sister Lauren announced to our family gathering that she'd helped me by transferring my struggling consulting firm into my sole ownership. "Your little business needs better management," she said, producing documents. "I've restructured everything." Our parents beamed with pride at her generosity. My stomach churned as my phone vibrated. SEC Director Marcus Thompson's name flashed on screen. "Ms. Anne Marie, we need to discuss the fraudulent transactions traced to your company. Teams are mobilizing now." Lauren's smile hadn't faded yet. 6 months earlier, I had been bursting with pride as I hung the sign for Clarity Financial Solutions on the door of our small office in downtown Minneapolis. After 8 years working for major accounting firms, I was finally pursuing my dream of helping small businesses navigate the increasingly complex world of regulatory compliance. My hands shook slightly as I turned the key for the first time as a business owner. The office wasn't much to look at. 3 rooms on the 4th floor of a building that had seen better days, but to me it represented everything I had worked toward. I had recruited 2 talented professionals who believed in my vision. Patricia Martinez, a brilliant compliance specialist who had grown tired of corporate bureaucracy, and James Worthington, a technology expert who could make financial software sing. "This is it, team," I announced that first morning, holding up coffee cups and a toast. "We're going to make compliance accessible and affordable for every small business that needs us." Patricia smiled warmly, her years of experience evident in her knowing expression. "Been waiting for someone to actually care about the little guys. Count me in for the long haul, Anne Marie." James nodded enthusiastically, already setting up our secure servers. "By the time I'm done, our systems will be more secure than most Fortune 500 companies. Your clients' data will be absolutely protected." We started small, taking on local restaurants, boutique shops, and family-owned service companies. Each client represented a family's dreams just like mine. I spent countless nights reviewing regulations, creating customized compliance plans, and building relationships based on trust and transparency. Lauren visited our office exactly once during those early months. She swept in wearing a designer suit that probably cost more than our monthly rent, her heels clicking dismissively on our modest tile floor. As a senior vice president at Whitmore Holdings, one of the most prestigious investment banks in the Midwest, she embodied everything corporate America represented. "Cute little setup," she said, her voice dripping with condescension as she examined our secondhand furniture. "Playing businesswoman suits you, Annie, though I don't know why you'd want to work with businesses that can barely afford proper representation." I bit back my response, remembering our mother's constant reminders to be patient with Lauren. She had always been the golden child, the one who exceeded every expectation. Harvard MBA fast-track career, penthouse apartment, overlooking the Mississippi River. I was just the younger sister who chose a state school and cared more about helping others than climbing corporate ladders. "We're doing important work here," I said simply. "Not everyone can afford Whitmore Holdings services." Lauren laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. "That's precisely why they don't deserve them. But you keep playing in your sandbox, little sister. Someone has to serve the bottom feeders." What I didn't notice during her brief visit was how intently she studied our office layout, how her eyes lingered on our filing systems, how she casually photographed our compliance certificates with her phone while pretending to text. I was too focused on remaining professional, too eager to prove I didn't need her approval. Patricia mentioned it later after Lauren's Mercedes disappeared into traffic. "Your sister seemed awfully interested in our security protocols. Asked me 3 questions about our banking relationships while you were on that call. She's always been nosy." I dismissed, returning to the stack of tax forms awaiting review, probably looking for ammunition to use at family dinners. How wrong I was. The first sign something was amiss came 4 months into our operation. Our bank called about unusual wire transfers from our business account transactions I had no memory of authorizing. Small amounts at first, just under the reporting thresholds, moving to offshore accounts I didn't recognize. "Must be a banking error." James insisted, pulling up our internal records. "Look, nothing shows on our end. Our security is airtight." But the transactions kept appearing, Always when I was traveling to meet clients, always just small enough to avoid immediate detection, always to different international accounts. I spent hours on the phone with our bank, filled out fraud reports, changed every password and security protocol. Maybe we should involve the authorities, Patricia suggested one afternoon, her brow furrowed with concern. Not yet, I decided, still believing we could handle it internally. A police report could destroy our reputation before we even get established. Let me figure this out. I hired an independent security consultant who found nothing. Our systems were clean, our protocols solid. Yet the transactions continued growing slowly larger, more frequent. My business account hemorrhaged money I couldn't afford to lose, but even more concerning was the pattern emerging in the destination accounts. Then came the morning that changed everything. I arrived at the office to find an envelope slipped under the door, my name written in Lauren's distinctive handwriting. Inside ownership transfer documents for Clarity Financial Solutions, dated 2 days prior with my signature on every page. Except I had never signed them. My hands trembled as I read through the legal language. Full ownership of the company had been transferred solely to me, removing the corporate structure that provided legal protection. Every asset, every liability, every transaction was now personally mine. The documents were notarized, filed with the state, completely legitimate in appearance. I called Lauren immediately, my heart racing. She answered on the first ring as if expecting my call. "Good morning, Annie. I trust you received my gift." "Gift, Lauren, what have you done? I never signed these papers." "Of course you did, silly. Remember your birthday card last month? Such a sweet message you wrote me. Your signature was perfect as always." The blood drained from my face as realization dawned. The birthday card she had insisted I sign, claiming she was starting a family tradition of keeping handwritten notes. I had signed it with my full legal signature at her specific request. "Lauren, you need to reverse this immediately. This is fraud forgery. You can't just transfer ownership without my knowledge." "But I'm helping you, Annie. You're drowning in that little company. Now you have full control, no corporate red tape. You should be grateful. Besides, it's already done. State filing was completed yesterday at 4:37 p.m. Why would you do this?" "Because family helps family. Gotta run now, big meeting with international clients. Kiss mother for me at dinner tonight." The line went dead. I stared at the papers, my mind racing through the implications. Something was terribly wrong, but I couldn't piece together why Lauren would forcibly transfer full ownership to me. It made no sense from any legitimate business perspective. Patricia found me sitting at my desk an hour later, still clutching the documents. She read through them quickly, her expression growing more alarmed with each page. "This makes you personally liable for everything," she whispered. "Every transaction, every decision, every potential legal issue. Why would your sister do this?" Before I could answer, James burst through the door, laptop in hand, face pale as parchment. "We have a massive problem," he announced. "Remember those wire transfers we couldn't trace? I finally cracked the routing patterns. They're not random. They're structured to look like money laundering, and they all trace back to accounts connected to a Ponzi scheme. $47 million have moved through our accounts in the last 4 months." The room spun. $47 million. Our entire annual revenue projection was barely $500,000. "That's impossible," I stammered. "Our account never had anywhere near that amount." "Layered transactions." James explained, his fingers flying over the keyboard. Money and money out, tiny percentages skimmed off each transfer. Classic laundering technique. But here's the worst part. Every transaction has your electronic authorization code. "I never authorized any of this." Patricia's face had gone ashen. "With these ownership papers, you're now solely responsible for all of it. If this is connected to a Ponzi scheme..." She didn't need to finish. We all knew what it meant. Federal investigation, criminal charges, decades in prison. My phone rang. Marcus Thompson, director of the SEC Enforcement Division. I had met him once at a financial compliance conference, never imagining I would see his name on my caller ID under these circumstances. Ms. Anne Marie. This is Director Thompson. I'm calling to inform you that we've been monitoring suspicious activities connected to Clarity Financial Solutions. I need you to remain at your office. Federal agents will arrive within the hour to secure all records and files. I strongly advise you to contact legal representation immediately. The walls felt like they were closing in. Through my office window, I could already see black SUVs pulling into the parking garage below. This was no mistake, no misunderstanding. I had been set up, and the precision of it took my breath away. Patricia squeezed my shoulder. "We're going to figure this out. There has to be evidence of what really happened." But as federal agents flooded our small office, seizing computers and boxes of files, I realized the truth. My own sister had orchestrated this entire scheme, using my company as a shield for criminal activity that would send me to federal prison for the rest of my life. The very signature I had given in love and trust on a birthday card had become the weapon she wielded to destroy me. The worst part, I still didn't understand why. What had I done to deserve such calculated betrayal from the person who shared my blood, my history, my family? As agents escorted me to a waiting vehicle for questioning, I caught sight of my reflection in the window. The woman staring back looked like a stranger, someone whose entire world had shattered in the space of a morning. Lauren had called it a gift. I now understood it was meant to be my destruction. That evening, after 6 hours of SEC interrogation that left my head spinning and my voice hoarse, I drove directly to Lauren's penthouse. The doorman recognized me, offering his usual polite smile as he buzzed me through. Lauren answered wearing silk pajamas, a glass of wine in hand, looking as serene as if this were any other Thursday night. "Annie, what a surprise. You look exhausted. Rough day at your little office." The casualness of her tone ignited something primal in me. I pushed past her into the apartment, my entire body trembling with rage and disbelief. "You destroyed my life today," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Federal agents seized everything. They think I masterminded a $47 million fraud scheme. You did this. You used my company, my signature, my trust." Lauren closed the door slowly, taking a measured sip of her wine. "I have no idea what you're talking about. If you've gotten yourself into legal trouble with your amateur business practices, that's hardly my fault. Stop lying." The words erupted from me. I know about the forged ownership transfer. I know about the birthday card signature. What I don't know is why. Why would you do this to me? For just a moment, something flickered in Lauren's eyes. Not guilt exactly, but a cold satisfaction that made my blood run ice cold. Then her expression shifted to one of practiced concern. "Annie, you're clearly under tremendous stress. These accusations are not only hurtful, but completely unfounded. I tried to help you by simplifying your corporate structure. If you've been involved in illegal activities, that's on you." "I haven't done anything illegal, you know that." "Do I?" "You've always been so secretive about your little business. Never wanting to discuss details, never accepting my professional advice. For all I know, you've been in over your head from day one." The gaslighting was so smooth, so perfectly delivered, that for a moment I almost questioned my own sanity. This was the sister who had held my hand on the first day of school, who had taught me to ride a bike, who had promised to always protect me. How could she stand here and lie with such conviction? "I'm going to prove what you did," I said quietly. "I'm going to find evidence of every forged document, every unauthorized transaction, every criminal act you've committed using my company." Lauren set down her wine glass, moving closer with the predatory grace I remembered from watching her destroy opponents in high school debate competitions. "You always were jealous of my success, weren't you, poor little Annie stuck in my shadow, desperate to blame someone else for her failures? This isn't about jealousy. This is about you committing federal crimes and trying to frame me for them." "Frame you? Oh, sweetheart, you frame yourself every day by playing businesswoman without the intelligence or connections to succeed. Now you've apparently gotten mixed up in something criminal, and instead of taking responsibility, you come here making wild accusations against the only person who's ever truly looked out for you. looked out for me. You've spent our entire lives making me feel small and worthless because I was trying to motivate you to be better. Everything I've ever done has been to help you even when you were too stubborn to see it. And this is how you repay me with paranoid accusations. The conversation was spiraling exactly where she wanted it to go. I forced myself to take a breath to think clearly, despite the emotional manipulation. If you truly wanted to help me, you'll come with me to the authorities tomorrow and explain the ownership transfer. Lauren laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. Go to the authorities and say what? That I helped my struggling sister by simplifying her business structure, that I filed completely legal paperwork to transfer ownership. Annie, you're the one under federal investigation, not me. I suggest you focus on your own defense rather than creating conspiracy theories. I left her apartment knowing two things with absolute certainty. First, Lauren had orchestrated every detail of this scheme. Second, she had prepared for this moment for my confrontation and had every response carefully planned. As I waited for the elevator, I heard her on the phone, her voice carrying through the door. Mother, yes. I'm afraid Annie just left. She's in some sort of legal trouble and came here making terrible accusations. I'm genuinely worried about her mental state. By the time I reached my parents' house in Edina, the damage was done. My mother met me at the door, her face creased with concern and disappointment. Anne-Marie Loren called. She said federal agents came to your office that you're being investigated for financial crimes. Mom, I need you to listen to me. Lauren set this up. She's been using my company to launder money, and now she's transferred all the liability to me. My father appeared behind her, still in his golf clothes from his retirement routine. That's a serious accusation to make against your sister. Lauren has only ever tried to help you. She forged my signature. She transferred ownership without my knowledge. My mother's expression hardened. Lauren showed us the birthday card where you thanked her for her business advice and asked her to help restructure your company. She has the email where you requested her assistance. What email? I never sent any email. But even as I denied it, I knew Lauren had covered every angle. Fabricated emails would be child's play for someone with her resources and connections. Sweetheart. My father said, using the tone he'd employed when I was 6 and insisted monsters lived under my bed, Lauren has a successful career, a sterling reputation, and no reason to jeopardize everything to hurt you. If you're in trouble, own up to it. Don't drag your sister down with you. The family meeting the following evening was even worse. Lauren had assembled the full cast, our parents. Aunt Jennifer, Uncle Robert, even our cousins drove in from Wisconsin. She presented herself as the concerned older sister voice, breaking with perfectly timed emotion as she described my erratic behavior and baseless accusations. I've offered to pay for the best defense attorneys, Lauren announced, daubing at dry eyes with a tissue. Whatever mistakes Annie has made, she's still family. We need to support her through this difficult time, even if she lashes out at those trying to help. The room filled with sympathetic murmurs directed at Lauren. Disapproving glances cast my way. I sat isolated on the couch, watching my entire family choose her narrative over my truth. 32 years of being the responsible one, the honest one. The one who never caused trouble counted for nothing against Lauren's performance. The evidence will prove I'm innocent, I said, my voice sounding hollow even to my own ears. Of course it will, dear. Aunt Jennifer patted my hand condescendingly. Lauren has already connected you with excellent lawyers. Just do what they say and everything will work out. I looked around the room at faces I'd known my entire life, people who claimed to love me and saw only judgment and disappointment reflected back. Lauren had won this battle before I even knew we were at war. After the family fled out, each offering hollow platitudes of support while maintaining careful distance, I sat in my childhood bedroom, staring at photographs of Lauren and me through the years. Birthday parties, graduations, family vacations, all showing two sisters who appeared close and loving. When had the poison begun? When had her resentment or greed or whatever drove this betrayal taken root? My phone buzzed, Patricia texting from her personal number. Don't give up. Meeting someone tomorrow who might help. Your office 7 a.m. before the feds return. I spent the night awake replaying every interaction with Lauren over the past year, searching for signs I had missed. By dawn, I had identified at least a dozen moments that took on new significance. Questions about my filing systems disguised as casual interest. Her insistence on seeing my office space. The birthday card signature she had specifically requested be formal and complete. Arriving at my office building at 6:45 a.m., I found Patricia already there, accompanied by someone unexpected, Emma Richardson, my best friend from college, who had become a forensic accountant for the FBI before starting her own consulting firm. We had lost touch over the years, busy with our respective careers. "Emma, what are you doing here?" Patricia stepped forward. I called her. Figured we needed someone who understands both financial crimes and federal investigations. Someone with no connection to your sister or family. Emma pulled me into a tight hug. Patricia filled me in on the basics. "This has Lauren written all over it. Remember in college when she sabotaged your scholarship application?" I had forced myself to forget that incident, how Lauren had accidentally submitted incorrect financial information that nearly cost me my academic funding. Back then, I had believed her tears and apologies. Now it felt like the first documented strike in a long campaign. "I can't pay you," I said honestly. "My accounts are frozen and my family thinks I'm guilty." "Not asking for payment," Emma replied firmly. "I'm asking for permission to dig into every financial record, every transaction, every digital footprint connected to this case. Patricia's been gathering evidence on her own, but she needs professional help to make sense of it." "What evidence?" Patricia opened her laptop, revealing dozens of organized files. "I've been documenting irregularities for months. Started as routine security monitoring, but patterns emerged that made no sense. Unusual system access at odd hours, all traced to IP addresses, connected to Whitmore Holdings. Database queries for information no one had legitimate reason to access." My breath caught. "You knew something was wrong." "Suspected, but I needed more before bringing it to you. Then yesterday happened and the pieces clicked together. I also have this." She pulled out a small digital recorder. "Minnesota is a one-party consent state for recordings. I've been documenting every interaction in the office for training and quality purposes, including your sister's visit and several suspicious phone calls." Emma's eyes lit up. "That's exactly what we need. Raw contemporaneous evidence is gold in financial crime cases. What else do you have?" "Access logs showing someone used Anne-Marie's credentials while she was confirmed to be elsewhere. Security footage from the building that doesn't match the supposed timing of certain transactions. And this." Patricia pulled up a technical readout I couldn't interpret, but Emma whistled low. "Backdoor access to your systems. Professional level, but they made one mistake. They didn't realize your security consultant installed a hidden monitoring protocol. Every keystroke through that backdoor was logged." "Can we trace it to Lauren?" "Not directly," Emma admitted. "But we can establish that someone with sophisticated technical knowledge had unauthorized access to your systems. Combined with the forged ownership transfer and the pattern of transactions, it builds a compelling counter-narrative." Hope flickered for the first time since this nightmare began. "The SEC won't listen to me. They have their theory of the case." "They'll listen to evidence," Emma countered, "especially if we can show them they're about to prosecute an innocent person while the real criminals walk free. Patricia, I need everything you have, every file, every recording, every anomaly." As Patricia transferred files, she casually mentioned, "By the way, I had coffee with Derek yesterday." "Derek?" I struggled to place the name. "Your IT contractor, the one who installed our initial systems. He seemed really nervous, kept asking if you were okay if the business was in trouble. Said someone from Whitmore Holdings had approached him about doing some supplementary work on our systems a few months back." Emma and I exchanged glances. "We need to talk to him immediately." "Already arranged," Patricia smiled grimly. "He's coming by this afternoon. seemed eager to clear his conscience about something. For the first time in 48 hours, I felt like I could breathe. We had a starting point allies who believed me, and evidence that suggested the truth was far more complex than the neat package of guilt Lauren had constructed. As we worked through the morning documenting everything we could before the federal agents returned, Emma made an observation that chilled me. "Annie, this isn't just about framing you. The sophistication, the planning, the scale of money involved. Your sister isn't working alone. She's connected to something much bigger." "Like what?" "Like organized financial crime. The kind that destroys lives without hesitation. The kind that eliminates problems rather than solving them. We need to be very careful how we proceed." Looking at the evidence spread before us, I realized my fight wasn't just for my freedom anymore. Lauren had dragged me into something that threatened everything and everyone I cared about. But she had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. The little sister she'd spent a lifetime diminishing was about to show her exactly what I was capable of when fighting for my life. The SEC's formal investigation began with the theatrical flair of a primetime crime drama. Federal agents swarmed my office building at precisely 9 a.m., their presence drawing crowds of curious onlookers and local news crews. I watched from the lobby as they carried out box after box of seized materials, each one representing years of legitimate hard work, now tainted by suspicion. Marcus Thompson himself appeared, his silver hair and dark suit, making him look every inch the veteran investigator who had taken down some of the biggest financial criminals in the country. He spotted me near the elevators and approached with measured steps. "Ms. Anne Marie, I appreciate you being here. This will go smoother with your cooperation. Director Thompson, I need you to know that I'm being framed. My sister, Lauren Mitchell, she works at Whitmore Holdings, and..." He held up a hand, his expression professionally neutral. "You'll have opportunity to present your defense through proper channels. Right now, I need you to understand the severity of what we've uncovered. $47 million in suspected money laundering connections to a Ponzi scheme that's destroyed hundreds of families' savings, and your signature on every authorization. Those signatures were forged using..." "Ms. Mitchell, I strongly advise you to save any statements for your attorney. Anything you say now can and will be used in the investigation. Are you prepared to surrender your passport?" The words hit like physical blows. Passport surrender meant they considered me a flight risk. My hands shook as I pulled the small blue book from my purse, watching my freedom disappear into an evidence bag. Jennifer Walsh arrived as they were loading the last boxes. One of the city's premier white-collar defense attorneys, she commanded attention, despite her petite stature. Emma had somehow convinced her to take my case, though I couldn't fathom how I'd ever afford her fees. "Not another word," Jennifer instructed, steering me away from the federal agents. "Conference room now." In the privacy of a borrowed office space, Jennifer's professional demeanor cracked slightly. "I've reviewed the preliminary evidence Patricia and Emma provided. This is sophisticated frame-up work, but proving it will be like unraveling a spider web in a hurricane. The government's case looks solid on paper. Because Lauren designed it that way. Your sister's name appears nowhere in the financial records. Every trail leads back to you. They have your electronic signatures, your access codes transfers from your IP address. From their perspective, you're the perfect suspect. But Patricia has recording system logs that show circumstantial evidence that someone accessed your systems. Could be explained as you covering your tracks using proxies to create deniability. I've seen prosecutors spin less into convictions. Despair threatened to overwhelm me, but Jennifer's next words offered a lifeline. However, the timeline bothers me. The sophistication of these transactions doesn't match your technical profile. You're a compliance expert, not a systems engineer. The prosecution will have to explain how you suddenly acquired advanced money laundering skills. That's our opening. The formal interrogation took place 3 days later in a sterile federal building downtown. Jennifer sat beside me as Marcus Thompson and 2 assistant prosecutors laid out their case with mathematical precision. Charts, graphs, transaction records, all painting a picture of calculated criminal enterprise with me at the center. Transaction batch A17. The younger prosecutor, a sharp-faced woman named Catherine Reed, pointed to a display screen. $3.2 million routed through 6 shell companies in 4 countries, all authorized with your access credentials at 2:14 a.m. on March 15th. Where were you at that time, Ms. Mitchell? Jennifer answered for me. My client was in Chicago that evening attending a compliance seminar. We have hotel records and conference registration to prove it. Easily faked, remote access is possible from anywhere. They continued for 6 hours, each question designed to tighten the noose. Where did the money come from? Why did I choose those specific offshore accounts? How long had I been planning this scheme? Every denial sounded weaker than the last, especially when they produced documents I'd never seen with signatures that looked exactly like mine. This signature on the Cayman Islands account authorization. Reed zoomed in on the image. Are you denying this is your handwriting? I stared at my own signature, perfect in every detail. It looks like mine, but I never signed this. So someone forged it so expertly that even you can't tell the difference. My sister had access to my signature through a birthday card. She could have... Thompson leaned forward. Your sister, who has an impeccable reputation in the financial sector, risked her entire career to frame you for crimes that carry a 30-year sentence. Help me understand that logic. The interrogation ended with no breakthrough, only the promise of more to come. As we left the building, Jennifer's expression was grim. They're moving fast. I'd estimate formal charges within 2 weeks unless we can provide alternative suspects with compelling evidence. Whatever your friends are working on, they need to accelerate their timeline. That evening, Patricia called with urgent news. Derek Morrison, our IT contractor, had agreed to meet, but only in a public place. We chose a busy coffee shop in Uptown, the noise providing cover for our conversation. Derek looked haggard when he arrived, constantly checking over his shoulder. The confident tech expert who had set up our systems was gone, replaced by someone running, scared. I'm sorry, Ra, were his first words. I needed the money. My daughter, she has leukemia, and the medical bills were crushing us. When that woman from Whitmore Holdings approached me, offered $50,000 just to install some monitoring software, I didn't think it would hurt anyone. What woman? I pressed, though I already knew the answer. Never got her name. Tall, blonde, expensive clothes. Said it was routine security oversight for partnership purposes. Paid cash, insisted on no paper trail. I knew it was wrong, but $50,000, that was 6 months of treatment for Lily. Patricia pulled out her laptop. Show us exactly what you installed. Derek's fingers flew across the keyboard, revealing code that made Patricia whistle low. This isn't monitoring software. It's a full access tunnel. Whoever controlled this could do anything. Create transactions, forge documents, manipulate timestamps. Can you trace it back to the source? Emma asked. The control servers were masked through multiple proxies, but... Derek pulled up another screen. I kept my own insurance. Screenshots of every communication, including this. The image showed a partial email address and a phone number. Emma immediately began working to trace both, while Derek continued his confession. After I heard about the federal investigation, I tried to contact them, say I wanted out. The woman met me, again different this time, told me Lily's treatments could become very complicated if I didn't stay quiet. That's when I knew I'd gotten involved with something beyond regular corporate espionage. Would you testify to this? Jennifer asked, already knowing the answer from his terrified expression. I have a family, a sick daughter. These people, they're connected to something bigger. That woman mentioned a name once, Vincent Carlisle. I looked him up. He's linked to organized crime international money laundering things that get people killed. The name sent chills through all of us. Carlisle was infamous in financial crime circles, a ghost who orchestrated schemes worth hundreds of millions while never leaving enough evidence for prosecution. If Lauren was connected to him, this went far beyond sibling rivalry. We can protect you. Jennifer offered, though even she sounded uncertain. Derek shook his head, sliding a USB drive across the table. Everything I have is on there. Communications code access logs. I'm leaving town tonight, taking my family somewhere safe until this blows over. I'm sorry, Anne-Marie. I never meant for it to go this far. He left quickly, and we never saw him again. News of his car accident reached us 3 days later. Single vehicle lost control on a clear night, no witnesses. The police ruled it accidental, but we knew better. His wife and daughter disappeared shortly after their house abandoned no forwarding address. Lauren wouldn't be involved in murder, I said, trying to convince myself. She's many things, but not a killer. Emma's expression was grave. She might not have known Carlisle would go that far, or maybe she did. Either way, Derek's death changes everything. We're not just fighting fraud charges anymore. We're challenging a criminal organization that eliminates threats. The investigation intensified over the following days. My assets were frozen. My credit cards canceled, my reputation shredded in financial circles. Former clients called to express shock and disappointment. Business associates distanced themselves. The local news ran segments about the compliance expert who couldn't follow her own rules. Lauren, meanwhile, played her role perfectly. She gave a tearful interview to a financial magazine about supporting her troubled sister through legal difficulties. She established a family fund for my defense, very publicly contributing the first $100,000. Every gesture designed to paint her as the devoted sister me, as the ungrateful criminal. At our family dinner that Sunday, the divide was complete. I sat at the same table where I'd celebrated graduations and birthdays, now feeling like a pariah among my own blood. The Johnsons asked about you at church. My mother said not meeting my eyes. I didn't know what to tell them. Tell them I'm innocent, I replied. Tell them I'm being framed. Lauren reached across to pat my hand, the gesture making my skin crawl. Denial isn't healthy, Annie. The first step to redemption is accepting responsibility. Like you accepted responsibility for destroying my life. Anne-Marie. My father's voice was sharp. Your sister is trying to help. She's paying for your defense, managing the family response to this scandal, all while maintaining her own career. Show some gratitude. I looked around the table at faces that had once meant safety and love. Now they reflected only disappointment and judgment. Lauren had won this battlefield completely, turning my own family into unwitting accomplices in my destruction. That night, Patricia sent an encrypted message. Found something in Derek's files. Meet tomorrow early. Bring Emma and Jennifer. This changes everything. Sleep eluded me as I processed the implications. Derek's death proved we were fighting forces willing to kill to protect their interests. Lauren had either knowingly aligned herself with murderers or been manipulated by them. Either way, she had crossed lines that couldn't be uncrossed. The federal case against me was growing stronger each day as they uncovered more planted evidence. But now we had threads to pull, connections to expose. The question was whether we could unravel Lauren's web before it strangled me completely. Looking out my apartment window at the city lights below, I made a decision. If they wanted war, I would give them one. The scared little sister was gone. In her place stood someone forged by betrayal, tempered by injustice, ready to fight with everything I had. Lauren thought she knew me, thought she could predict my responses based on a lifetime of programmed submission. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The game had shifted, and I was finally ready to play by their rules. The USB drive Derek had given us before his death contained more than just evidence. It held the blueprint of Lauren's entire operation. Patricia, Emma, and I huddled in a rented office space far from any location connected to me, parsing through thousands of files while Jennifer kept watch for any signs we'd been followed. This is incredible, Emma breathed, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Derek didn't just document the backdoor access, he mapped the entire money flow network. Look at this. The screen displayed a complex web of transaction shell companies and offshore accounts. At the center, like a spider in her web, was Lauren's digital footprint, carefully hidden behind layers of encryption and false identities. She's been planning this for 2 years, Patricia pointed to timestamps. These initial test transactions date back to when you first mentioned starting your company, Anne-Marie. The realization hit like a physical blow. Every encouraging word about my business dreams, every offer of advice had been calculated manipulation. Lauren had been setting her trap before I'd even opened my doors. There's more. Emma pulled up another file, communications between Lauren and someone identified only as VC, Vincent Carlisle, presumably. They discussed something called Project Songbird and needing a clean nest for their operations. I was the clean nest, I said quietly. My legitimate business, my spotless reputation. Jennifer studied the evidence with a lawyer's precision. This is compelling, but still not enough. We can prove unauthorized access to your systems, but connecting it directly to Lauren requires more concrete evidence. A recorded confession, documented meetings, something irrefutable. Then we get it, I decided. I'm going to give Lauren exactly what she expects. A broken sister, defeated and ready to accept her fate. Let her get comfortable, maybe even gloat a little. Absolutely not, Jennifer protested. That's dangerous and potentially illegal if you're wearing a wire without proper authorization. What if I'm not wearing a wire? What if I'm just a desperate sister seeking comfort from family? Emma caught on first. But Patricia happens to be nearby with perfectly legal recording equipment for an unrelated matter. And I might accidentally leave my phone recording in my purse, I added. Completely unintentional, of course. Jennifer sighed. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear this conversation. As your attorney, I strongly advise against any contact with potential witnesses or suspects. Is that clear? Perfectly clear. I agreed, already planning my approach. The performance began that evening. I called Lauren, letting tears creep into my voice. I need to see you, please. Everything's falling apart and I don't know what to do. Her pause was calculating, weighing risks against the satisfaction of seeing me broken. Of course, Annie. Come by tomorrow evening. We'll have dinner, just the two of us. I spent the next day crafting my defeated persona. Emma helped me practice coaching me through the emotional beats that would make Lauren believe she'd won. Patricia prepared her surveillance equipment, everything legally defensible, as routine security testing for her new clients. Arriving at Lauren's penthouse the following evening, I let my shoulders slump, added a tremor to my hands. The doorman's pitying look told me the performance was already working. Lauren answered, wearing cashmere and sympathy, the perfect picture of concerned sister. Oh, Annie. She pulled me into a hug that made my skin crawl. You look terrible. Come in, I've made your favorite pasta. The dining room was set for 2 candles flickering like a celebration disguised as comfort. I sat heavily, letting exhaustion show in every movement. I can't fight anymore. I began, voice barely above a whisper. The lawyers say the evidence is overwhelming. They're recommending I plead guilty, try for a reduced sentence. Lauren poured wine, her movements careful and precise. That might be for the best. Accepting responsibility is the first step toward redemption. 20 to 30 years, they said. I'll be in my 60s when I get out, if I get out. I let tears fall, not entirely an act. The thought of prison for crimes I didn't commit was genuinely terrifying. Perhaps if you cooperated fully, provided information about your associates, they might be more lenient. What associates? I don't understand any of this. The Ponzi scheme, the offshore accounts, none of it makes sense. I just wanted to help small businesses with compliance. Lauren moved her chair closer, adopting the big sister role she'd perfected over decades. Sometimes we get in over our heads without realizing it. Maybe someone took advantage of your naivety, used your good intentions for their own purposes. You mean someone planned this, set me up? For a moment, naked satisfaction flashed across her face before the mask of concern returned. It's possible. The criminal world is full of predators looking for easy marks. But who would do that? Who would destroy my life like this? She refilled my wine glass, her own remaining untouched. Does it matter now? The evidence is what it is. The best you can do is minimize the damage. I played my trump card, pulling out my phone with shaking hands. The FBI showed me something today. Communications between the shell companies and someone at Whitmore Holdings. They think I have a partner there. Lauren's stillness was absolute, a predator evaluating threat. Really, did they say who? No, but they're subpoenaing employment records, access logs, anyone who might have known about my business. They seem very interested in family connections. Family. Her voice pitched slightly higher. My lawyer says they always look at family and financial crimes, spouses, siblings, anyone who might benefit. Jennifer thinks they might offer me a deal if I can point them toward bigger fish. Lauren stood abruptly, pacing to the window overlooking the city. You wouldn't betray family, would you, Annie, after everything we've been through together? What choice do I have if someone at Whitmore Holdings is involved if they used family access to destroy me? Shouldn't they face justice? She turned, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Be very careful, Annie. The people involved in this aren't the forgiving type. If you start making accusations, pointing fingers, you might find prison is the least of your worries. Are you threatening me? I'm trying to protect you. The words burst out with genuine emotion, though not the kind she intended to project. You have no idea what you've stumbled into. Vincent Carlisle doesn't leave loose ends. If you start talking about Whitmore Holdings, about family connections, you'll be signing your own death warrant. You know Vincent Carlisle. She caught herself, mask sliding back into place. Everyone in finance knows of him. The ghost of Wall Street, they call him. Untouchable, ruthless. If he's somehow connected to your case, your only option is to take your punishment quietly and hope he forgets you exist. But I didn't do anything. Why should I rot in prison while the real criminals walk free? Lauren returned to her seat, leaning forward with intensity. Because that's how you survive. You think Derek Morrison had an accident? You think his family just decided to vanish? Carlisle eliminates problems, and right now, you're dangerously close to becoming one. My phone, recording everything from my purse, captured each damning word. But I needed her to connect the final dots. Did you know? I asked softly. When you transferred the company ownership, did you know what would happen? She was silent for a long moment, wrestling with how much to reveal. Finally, she spoke in a voice I'd never heard before, cold and matter-of-fact. I knew you'd make the perfect fall guy. Clean reputation, legitimate business, trusting nature. Carlisle needed a new channel after the feds shut down his last operation. I needed to prove my value beyond just another Whitmore Holdings executive. So you sold me out for a promotion, for a partnership in an empire worth billions. Do you have any idea what Carlisle controls? The money flowing through your little company was pocket change compared to the real operation. But they needed to test the channel, make sure it would hold up under scrutiny. And if it didn't hold up, I'd take the fall. Exactly. Though I didn't expect you to fight back so hard. Most people in your position would have taken a plea deal by now, served their time quietly. But you had to play detective, had to drag others into it. Derek's death is on you, Annie. If you just accepted your role, he'd still be alive. The accusation hit like a slap, but I forced myself to stay in character. My role as your scapegoat, your role as the lesser sister who finally served a purpose. Do you know what it's like being constantly reminded of family obligations, having to pretend I care about your little achievements when I'm orchestrating deals worth hundreds of millions? At least now you're useful. Lauren, how can you say these things? We're sisters. She laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. Sisters? You were an accident, did you know that? Mom told me once when she'd had too much wine. They never planned on another child. But there you were, stealing attention, resources, love that should have been mine alone. I've spent 30 years cleaning up after you, making sure you didn't embarrass the family too badly. This is just the final cleanup. Each word was a dagger, but also evidence. Patricia, listening from her van outside, was capturing everything through the enhanced audio equipment. Emma, monitoring from another location, was documenting every admission. "What happens now?" I asked, letting defeat color my voice. "Now you have a choice. Take your plea deal, serve your time, and keep your mouth shut about Whitmore Holdings and family connections. In exchange, I'll make sure you're protected inside commissary funded, maybe even early parole if you're very good. Or you can keep fighting, keep investigating, and end up like Derek. Your choice." "Some choice." "It's more than most get. Carlisle wanted you eliminated from the start, said family complications were messy. I convinced him you could be managed, controlled. Don't make me regret that decision." I stood slowly gathering my purse with its precious recording. I need time to think. "You have 48 hours. After that, the offer expires and Carlisle handles things his way. And Annie. If you're thinking of going to the feds with this conversation, remember that I'm very good at what I do. This meeting never happened. You came here distraught and alone, and any recording would be your word against mine. Plus, accidents happen so easily. Car crashes home, invasions, random street violence. Minneapolis can be such a dangerous city." I left her penthouse with my heart racing, but my mission accomplished. Her admissions captured in crystal clear audio would change everything. But Lauren was right about one thing. We now had 48 hours before she realized I'd played her and took action. In the van, Patricia's face was grim but satisfied. "We got it all. Every admission, every threat. This is enough to launch a real investigation. Send copies to Emma and Jennifer immediately," I instructed. "Multiple backups, different locations. If something happens to any of us, this needs to survive." As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of Lauren silhouetted in her window, 30 floors above the city she thought she owned. She believed she'd broken me tonight, secured my compliance through fear and defeat. Instead, she'd given us the weapons to fight back. The game had shifted again. Now we were the hunters, armed with truth and evidence. But we were hunting dangerous prey backed by killers who eliminated problems without hesitation. The next 48 hours would determine everything, whether justice prevailed or whether I joined Derek Morrison in an accident that would close the case forever. Looking at Patricia's determined face, Emma's strategic planning, Jennifer's legal expertise, I realized something Lauren never understood. She might have been the golden child, the successful one, the family favorite, but I had something more valuable, people willing to risk everything for justice, for truth, for friendship that went beyond blood. The war wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. But for the first time since this nightmare started, I believed we could win. The 48 hours Lauren had given me became a countdown clock to potential death. But instead of running or hiding, we went on the offensive. Jennifer worked through the night to package our evidence, while Emma traced financial connections with obsessive determination. Patricia coordinated our movements like a military operation, keeping us one step ahead of anyone tracking our locations. "I've found something massive," Emma announced at hour 36, her eyes red from staring at screens. "Lauren wasn't just funneling money through your company. She was using it to test a new system for Carlisle's entire network. If successful, they plan to replicate it through dozens of small businesses across the country. Creating an untraceable money laundering network," Jennifer concluded, "brilliant and terrifying. Each business owner would take the fall if discovered, while the masterminds remained invisible." There's more. Emma pulled up corporate records. 3 other consulting firms similar to Anne-Marie's have been registered in different states over the past year, all owned by young professionals with clean records, all recently transferred to sole proprietorship under suspicious circumstances. Other victims like me? Potentially. But here's the interesting part. 2 of those business owners died in accidents within weeks of their companies showing unusual financial activity. The 3rd is currently under federal investigation in Texas. The pattern was clear. Lauren and Carlisle were building a disposable network of fall guys, testing which approach worked best for avoiding detection. I was just the latest experiment, though apparently one who'd survived longer than expected. Patricia's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. My contact at the SEC says Marcus Thompson wants an off-record meeting, today within the hour. Jennifer immediately protested. Absolutely not. Any meeting should go through official channels with legal representation present. He says he has information about Whitmore Holdings that we need to hear, Patricia continued reading, and that waiting for official channels might be too late. I made the decision quickly. I'll meet him. Public place you all nearby. If Thompson is willing to break protocol, he must have discovered something significant. We chose the sculpture garden at the Walker Art Center, public enough for safety, but with space for private conversation. I arrived first, finding Thompson already waiting on a bench, looking older than when this investigation began. Ms. Mitchell. He nodded as I sat carefully distant. Thank you for coming. I should warn you, this meeting is entirely unofficial. I'm here as someone who's spent 30 years putting away financial criminals and recognizes when something doesn't fit the pattern. What pattern? You don't profile as a criminal mastermind. Your business structure, your client base, your entire approach speaks to someone who genuinely wanted to help others navigate compliance. Then suddenly you're running sophisticated international money laundering. It never sat right. But the evidence is too perfect. Too clean. Real financial crimes are messy, full of mistakes and oversights. Your case is like a textbook example, every piece of evidence exactly where we'd look for it. That kind of perfection usually means fabrication. Hope stirred, but I kept my expression neutral. What are you saying? I'm saying that 2 hours ago we received an anonymous package containing evidence of similar patterns at 3 other businesses. Same structure, same type of transfers, same level of sophisticated planning. The only difference is you're still alive to defend yourself. The confirmation of Emma's research chilled me. You think I'm being framed? I think you're a small fish being used as bait for something much bigger. The question is whether you're willing to help us catch the sharks. I've been trying to do that from the beginning. No one would listen. Thompson pulled out a tablet showing me financial records I recognized. We've been monitoring Whitmore Holdings for 6 months, following trails from another investigation. Your sister's name keeps appearing in proximity to suspicious activities, but never directly connected. She's careful, professional, knows exactly how to stay in the shadows. She confessed to me, I said quietly. 2 nights ago, I have recordings. His eyes sharpened. Admissible recordings. My attorney can speak to that, but you'd hear her admit to setting me up to working with Vincent Carlisle to threatening my life if I don't take the fall quietly. Carlisle. Thompson's expression darkened. We've been trying to nail him for a decade. If your sister is his new architect, if we can prove that connection, you can take down the entire network, potentially, but it would require your complete cooperation. And I need to be clear, Ms. Mitchell cooperating against Carlisle puts a target on your back that federal protection might not be able to fully shield. There's already a target on my back. At least this way I'm shooting back. Thompson studied me for a long moment. There's something else. We intercepted communication suggesting Carlisle is accelerating his timeline. Something spooked him, possibly your sister getting sloppy with her threats. Our intelligence indicates major movement of assets starting tomorrow. Tomorrow, less than 12 hours before Lauren's deadline expired. What kind of movement? The kind that suggests people are about to disappear, permanently, either running to non-extradition countries or... He didn't need to finish. The other option was clear. What do you need from me? Everything. All evidence, all recordings, full cooperation with a joint task force between SEC, FBI, and Justice. In exchange, we'll file amended charges acknowledging the strong possibility of frame-up unfreeze your assets for legal defense and provide security protection. I need to speak with my attorney. Of course, but Ms. Mitchell time is critical. If Carlisle is cleaning house, your sister might be on his list too. Whatever you think of her, she's still your family. The meeting ended with Thompson providing secure contact information and a promise of immediate action upon receiving our evidence. As I walked back to where Patricia waited, I wrestled with his final words. Lauren had destroyed my life, threatened my death, shown only contempt for our sisterhood. Did I owe her any warning about Carlisle potentially turning on her? Jennifer's reaction to the meeting was explosive. You met with the lead investigator without counsel? Do you understand how that could be twisted if this goes south? It won't go south, I said firmly. We're giving them everything, tonight, before anyone can disappear or destroy evidence. This is happening too fast. We need to verify Thompson's story, ensure protections are in place. People are going to die if we wait. The words burst out louder than intended. Maybe Lauren, maybe me, maybe others, whose only crime was building successful businesses. We can't afford careful anymore. Emma supported the decision. I've been tracking asset movements all day. Jennifer, she's right. Multiple accounts connected to our investigation are being drained. Properties being transferred, flights being booked. This has all the hallmarks of an organization going dark. We spent the next hours compiling everything: Derek's USB files, Patricia's recordings, Emma's financial analysis, Lauren's confession. Jennifer crafted legal frameworks to protect the admissibility of each piece while maintaining our safety. Everything was encrypted, copied, and prepared for simultaneous delivery to multiple agencies. At hour 45 of Lauren's deadline, Patricia noticed surveillance on my apartment building. 2 cars rotating positions. Professional work. We need to move. We relocated to Jennifer's office, the one place with security Lauren couldn't have compromised. As the final hours ticked down, I made one last decision. I need to warn her, I said quietly, about Carlisle possibly turning on her. Absolutely not, Jennifer protested. Contact with her now could be construed as conspiracy. She's my sister. The words tasted bitter, but true. Whatever she's done, she doesn't deserve to die. Emma understood. Make it quick. Untraceable phone. Just the warning, nothing else. I dialed Lauren's private number from a burner phone, my heart racing as it rang. Annie, her voice was sharp, suspicious, calling to accept my offer. Carlisle is cleaning house. Whatever you think your relationship is, you're expendable to him. The feds know about Whitmore Holdings, about the network. Get out while you can. Silence stretched between us. Then, why would you warn me? Because I'm not you. Because despite everything we share blood. Because I want you alive to face justice, not dead in some staged accident. You're lying, trying to manipulate me into running, making myself look guilty. Lauren, listen to me. Derek Morrison is dead. 2 other business owners in your network are dead. You're a loose end who knows too much. Please, just this once, trust me. Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice carried something I'd never heard before. Fear. How do you know about the network? Get somewhere safe. The feds will be at Whitmore Holdings by morning. I hung up before she could respond, before the conversation could be traced or recorded by whoever was certainly monitoring her communications. Whether she believed me or not, I'd done what conscience demanded. Hour 48 arrived with no attack, no accident, no dramatic confrontation. Instead, something far more satisfying occurred. At exactly 6 a.m., coordinated raids hit Whitmore Holdings Carlisle's known associates and shell company addresses across 3 states. The financial crime story of the decade exploded across news channels, with reporters breathlessly describing the dismantled network worth over $200 million in laundered funds. Lauren's penthouse was empty when they arrived. She'd run, taking whatever she could carry and leaving behind evidence of her involvement. Her disappearance was portrayed as admission of guilt, though I wondered if my warning had saved her life or simply delayed justice. Marcus Thompson called personally to inform me that charges against me were being reviewed in light of new evidence. It'll take time to officially clear you, but the investigation has shifted. You're now a witness, not a suspect. And Lauren. International warrant issued. She'll surface eventually. They always do. As I sat in Jennifer's office, surrounded by the team that had saved my life, I reflected on the past weeks. I'd lost my sister, my family's trust, my business's reputation, but I'd gained something more valuable, the knowledge that I could survive betrayal, fight back against corruption, and maintain my integrity even when faced with death. The war wasn't over. Testifying against Carlyle's network would take months, maybe years. Rebuilding my business and reputation would take even longer. But I was alive, free, and on the right side of justice. Patricia raised a coffee mug in toast to surviving the unsurvivable. Emma clinked her mug against mine, to friends who show up when family lets you down. Jennifer added hers with a rare smile, to clients who make me remember why I became a lawyer. To truth, I completed the toast, and to whatever comes next. As dawn broke over Minneapolis, painting the sky in shades of hope, I knew the hardest battles still lay ahead. But I also knew I wouldn't face them alone. Lauren had been wrong about one thing above all. I was never the lesser sister. I was the stronger one. 3 weeks after the raids, I sat in my childhood home's living room performing the best acting of my life. Word had leaked that my mental state was fragile, that the stress of the investigation had broken something inside me. I'd made sure of that, planting seeds through carefully orchestrated public moments and strategic conversations with family friends known for their inability to keep secrets. My parents hovered nearby, torn between shame over Lauren's flight and concern for their remaining daughter's apparent breakdown. They'd aged years in weeks, their golden child revealed as a criminal who'd nearly destroyed her own sister. "Sweetheart, please eat something," my mother urged, pushing a plate toward me that I ignored. I sat curled in my father's armchair, staring at nothing, occasionally mumbling about legal documents and federal agents. The performance required total commitment. Even Patricia and Emma didn't know this was planned, their genuine concern, adding authenticity to the narrative I was creating. "Maybe we should call Dr. Peterson," my father suggested quietly. "This catatonia isn't healthy." "The lawyers say it's normal," my mother replied, trauma response to everything she's endured. They discussed me like I wasn't there, which suited my purposes perfectly. Somewhere, Lauren was monitoring this situation. Despite the international warrant, she hadn't gone far. The authorities suspected she was still in the country, protected by Carlyle's remaining network while planning her next move. I needed her to believe I was truly broken, that I posed no threat, that coming to gloat over her destroyed sister would be safe, even satisfying. The breakthrough came on day 5 of my performance. Patricia arrived for what appeared to be a wellness check, playing her role unknowingly. "Anne-Marie won't return my calls." She told my parents loudly enough for anyone listening to hear. "The office is in chaos without her leadership. If she doesn't snap out of this soon, we'll lose everything she built." "She just rocks and mumbles about Lauren," my mother confided. "Keeps saying she should have taken the deal, should have protected the family." That night alone in my childhood room, I heard what I'd been waiting for. The subtle creak of the window I'd deliberately left unlocked. The soft footfall of someone who'd snuck in this way countless times as a teenager. Lauren couldn't resist. The prospect of seeing me broken, of having the last word, drew her like moth to flame. She materialized from the shadows, thinner than before, her designer clothes replaced with dark practical gear. But her eyes held the same cold superiority. "Hello, Annie." I didn't react immediately, maintaining the blank stare I'd perfected. She moved closer, studying me like a specimen. "Look at you, the fighter reduced to a vegetable. I warned you what would happen if you didn't play along." Slowly, I let my eyes focus on her. Lauren. Surprised I'd risk coming here, I had to see it for myself. My righteous little sister, broken by her own stubbornness. If you'd just taken the plea deal, none of this would have happened. "They froze everything," I whispered. "The business account's future. It's all gone." She sat on my bed, relaxing into what she believed was complete victory. "Did you really think you could fight people like Carlyle? He owns judges, prosecutors, entire departments. Your little recording stunt just delayed the inevitable. The FBI said you ran, that you're hiding overseas." Lauren laughed softly. The FBI believes what Carlisle wants them to believe. I'm protected, Annie. New identity, waiting new life funded by appreciative partners. I just couldn't leave without saying goodbye. Why? I let tears fall, not entirely acting. Why did you do this to me? Her expression shifted, decades of resentment surfacing. Because you were supposed to be nothing. The accident child who disrupted our perfect family, but somehow you were always the good one, the kind one, the one Mom secretly preferred. Do you know what it's like being the successful daughter, but never the loved one? I loved you. You pitied me. Everyone did once they got past the success and saw what was underneath. Poor Lauren's so driven because she's so empty. Well, I filled that emptiness with power, with money, with connections you couldn't imagine. And it was worth destroying me. You were already destroyed, Annie, living your small life with your small dreams. I just gave it meaning. Your company served a greater purpose than you ever could have achieved alone. You should thank me. I let the silence stretch, then spoke the words I'd rehearsed. I know about Montana. She stiffened. What about Montana? Carlisle's compound, the safe house where his key people go when things get hot. You're heading there tomorrow, aren't you? New documents already prepared, transportation arranged through the network. Her hand moved toward her jacket where I glimpsed the outline of a weapon. How could you possibly know that? Because unlike you, I made real friends. People who stayed loyal even when everything fell apart. Patricia's cousin works in document forgery. Emma has connections in federal agencies. They've been tracking every move Carlisle's people make. You're lying. This is pathetic attempt at manipulation from a broken mind. I sat up straighter, letting the facade drop completely. Transport leaves at 4 a.m. from the warehouse on Hennepin. 3 cars, middle one, carrying precious cargo. Route 17 to the interstate, avoiding main traffic cameras. Should I continue? Lauren stood abruptly, the weapon now visible in her hand. You clever little bitch. This whole breakdown was an act. Just like your concern for family was an act. The difference is my performance had a purpose beyond cruelty. You're wearing a wire. No wire, but the room is monitored 6 ways from Sunday. Thermal imaging shows your heat signature. Parabolic microphones capture every word. Surveillance teams have the house surrounded, waiting for my signal. She moved toward the window, but I continued calmly. They're out there too. Have been since you entered. Did you really think the FBI would leave me unprotected after I agreed to help catch Vincent Carlisle's architect? You're gambling with your life, Annie. One word from me and Carlisle's cleaners will ensure you don't survive to testify. Carlisle's in custody. Picked up 6 hours ago in Miami trying to board a private jet. His network is collapsing, Lauren. Your protection is gone. The lie came smoothly. Carlisle was still free, still dangerous. But Lauren's information was days old, her connections severed by paranoia and flight. She couldn't verify my claims without exposing herself. You destroyed everything, she whispered, real anguish breaking through. My career, my future, my life's work. You destroyed yourself the moment you chose crime over conscience. I just refused to be collateral damage. She raised the weapon, hand shaking. For a moment, we stood frozen sisters separated by choices that couldn't be undone. Then the bedroom door burst open. Federal agents flooded in weapons, drawn voices commanding. Lauren's finger twitched on the trigger, but training and overwhelming force prevailed. The weapon clattered away as they restrained her. The architect of so much suffering finally caught in her own demolished structure. Annie, she screamed as they dragged her out. I'm your sister. How could you do this? The same way you did it to me, I replied quietly, deliberately, carefully, and without joy. Marcus Thompson entered as the chaos subsided, his expression satisfied but concerned. Clean recording, perfect evidence. She'll face federal charges that guarantee decades inside. You did exceptionally well. Did I? The adrenaline was fading, leaving only exhaustion and hollow victory. I just destroyed my sister. Your sister destroyed herself. You chose justice over blood, truth over family loyalty. That takes incredible courage. My parents stood in the doorway, faces etched with shock and dawning understanding. My mother reached out tentatively. The breakdown, it was all pretend. Just the breakdown. The pain was real. Oh, sweetheart, we failed you so completely. Choosing her, believing her lies. You loved your daughter, both of them. Sometimes love blinds us to truth. My father cleared his throat, struggling with emotions he rarely displayed. Can you forgive us for not seeing, not believing? We're family, I said simply. That means second chances. It means healing. It means choosing to rebuild rather than remain broken. The federal agents finished processing the scene, leaving us alone with our shattered family dynamics and the long road ahead. Lauren would face justice, finally held accountable for her choices. Carlisle's network would crumble without her brilliant architecture. The other victims might find some measure of closure. But in that moment, sitting with my parents in the room where Lauren and I had once played as children, I felt only sadness for what had been lost. The sister I'd loved existed only in memory, now replaced by a stranger who'd chosen darkness over light. Thompson paused at the door. The assistant director wants to commend you personally. What you've done will save countless future victims. What I've done, I corrected softly, was survive. Everything else was just refusing to let evil win. As dawn broke over Minneapolis again, painting familiar walls in unfamiliar light, I knew the hardest work lay ahead. Rebuilding trust, recovering from trauma, learning to live without the sister who'd been my first friend and final enemy. But I also knew something Lauren never understood. Real strength isn't in taking power from others. It's in finding the courage to stand when everything pushes you to fall. It's in choosing truth when lies would be easier. It's in breaking the cycle of hurt instead of perpetuating it. I was Anne Marie Mitchell. I had survived betrayal, fought corruption, and emerged scarred but whole. The story wasn't over, might never truly end. But this chapter was closing with justice served and integrity intact. That had to be enough. For now, it was everything. The federal courthouse in Minneapolis had never seen media coverage quite like this. News vans lined the street as Lauren Mitchell, once a rising star at Whitmore Holdings, was escorted in chains to face justice. 6 months had passed since her arrest in my childhood bedroom, months filled with grand jury testimonies, evidence preparation, and the slow dismantling of Vincent Carlisle's criminal empire. I sat in the prosecution section, flanked by Patricia and Emma, watching as my sister entered in an orange jumpsuit that replaced her designer suits. She'd lost weight, her face gaunt, but her eyes still held that familiar defiance. Our gazes met across the courtroom, and for just a moment, I saw something flicker beneath the hardness. Regret, fear, or just anger at being caught. I'd never know for certain. The trial itself was swift. Lauren's recorded confessions, the mountain of financial evidence and testimony from 17 other victims, made conviction inevitable. When the judge read the verdict guilty on all 43 counts, including money laundering, wire fraud, and conspiracy, Lauren stood straighter as if proud of her crimes, even in defeat. The sentencing came 2 weeks later. 25 years in federal prison with possibility of parole in 15 for cooperation. As the judge detailed the lives destroyed by her choices, the businesses ruined, the dreams shattered. Lauren finally looked my way again. This time I saw tears. "Does the defendant wish to make a statement?" the judge asked. Lauren stood slowly. "I do, Your Honor." The courtroom fell silent. She turned not to the judge, but to me. I told myself I was building something important, that sacrificing one person's small dream was worth the empire I could create. I see now that every empire built on others' suffering eventually crumbles. Anna Marie, you asked me once why I did this. The truth is simpler and uglier than any excuse. I was jealous. Jealous that you found purpose in helping others, while I found only emptiness in helping myself. I'm sorry. Not for being caught, but for becoming someone who could destroy her own sister without hesitation. I hope someday you can forgive me. I'll spend my sentence trying to become someone worthy of that forgiveness." The words sounded rehearsed, but felt genuine, a crack in the armor she'd worn our entire lives. I nodded once, acknowledging the apology without accepting it. Forgiveness would come with time, with proof of change, with healing that couldn't be rushed. As they led Lauren away, she looked back one final time. The golden child who'd had everything except contentment, now facing decades to reflect on choices that traded family for fortune. Part of me grieved for the sister I'd lost long before this trial. Another part felt relief that justice had prevailed. Outside the courthouse, Marcus Thompson shook my hand. "Your testimony was crucial in bringing down the entire network. 37 convictions and counting, over $100 million in laundered funds recovered. You should be proud." "I'm just glad it's over." "Not quite. There's the matter of restitution. Recovered funds will be distributed to victims, including you. Your business losses will be compensated, and there's a reward for information leading to Carlisle's capture." "I don't want blood money." "Then use it for something positive. Honor what you've survived by helping others do the same." That conversation planted a seed that would grow over the following months. With my company's reputation in ruins, despite my exoneration, traditional business felt impossible. But from destruction came opportunity for rebirth. The Phoenix Foundation launched 8 months after Lauren's sentencing. Using the restitution funds and rewards, I created an organization dedicated to helping small business owners recognize and combat financial crime. We provided free consultations, security audits, and support for those who'd been victimized by schemes like Lauren's. Patricia came on as Director of Security Services, her meticulous nature perfect for protecting others from infiltration. Emma joined as Chief Financial Analyst, using her forensic skills to spot red flags before they became catastrophes. Even Jennifer Walsh agreed to provide pro bono legal consultation for victims who couldn't afford representation. Our first client was a bakery owner in St. Paul who'd noticed suspicious transactions in her accounts. We caught the scheme early, traced it to an employee with gambling debts who'd been approached by remnants of Carlisle's organization. The relief on her face when we prevented her from becoming another victim made every painful moment of my journey worthwhile. Derek Morrison's widow reached out 6 months into our operation. She'd returned to Minneapolis after confirming the threats against her family had ended with Carlisle's imprisonment. I hired her as our office manager and established a scholarship in Derek's name for IT students interested in cybersecurity. His daughter Lily, cancer in remission, sent me drawings of superheroes that I framed on my office wall. Heroes who fought bad guys with computers instead of superpowers. The foundation grew faster than anticipated. What started with 4 employees became 20, then 50. We partnered with federal agencies to provide training, worked with banks to identify suspicious patterns, and created educational programs for business schools about ethical financial practices. 2 years after that nightmare began with Lauren's betrayal, I stood before a conference of 500 small business owners, sharing our story and teaching them to protect themselves. My parents sat in the front row, their pride evident despite the pain our family had endured. They'd sold their large house, downsized to something manageable, and donated the difference to the foundation. Their way of atoning for choosing wrong, for not seeing the truth until too late. Financial crime succeeds through isolation, I told the audience. Criminals count on shame, fear, and silence to protect their operations. But when we stand together, share our stories, and support each other, we become stronger than any scheme. We transform from victims to victors, from targets to teachers. The applause was warm, but not what moved me most. It was the faces of understanding, the nods of recognition, the determination to protect their dreams from those who would exploit them. Every person we helped was a victory over the darkness Lauren had tried to pull me into. After the conference, a young woman approached hesitantly. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm Sarah Chen. I think my business partner might be setting me up for something illegal. Everyone says I'm paranoid that I should trust her because we're friends, but something feels wrong. Trust your instincts. I advised, handing her my card. Come to our office tomorrow. We'll review everything, no charge. If you're wrong, you'll have peace of mind. If you're right, you'll have protection. She left with hope, replacing fear, another potential victim who might escape the trap before it closed. This was my purpose now, born from pain, but nurtured by purpose. That evening, I received a letter forwarded through Lauren's attorney. Her handwriting was smaller than I remembered, constrained by prison regulations and perhaps humility. Annie, I've had time to think, more time than I ever allowed myself in the outside world. I see now what I couldn't, before that success means nothing if it comes at the cost of someone else's destruction. I'm in therapy trying to understand the emptiness I tried to fill with power and money. I read about your foundation. Of course you turned tragedy into purpose. You always were the better person, though it took me too long to admit it. I'm glad you're helping others avoid what I put you through. Don't feel obligated to respond. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to become someone different, someone who adds light instead of darkness, someone worthy of being called your sister again, even if I never earned that right. With love and regret, Lauren. I folded the letter carefully, adding it to a box of correspondence I might someday be ready to answer. Forgiveness was a journey, not a destination, and I wasn't there yet. But perhaps knowing she was trying to change was enough for now. As night fell over Minneapolis, I stood in my office looking out at the city lights. Each one represented a dream, a hope, a small business built on trust and hard work. Some would fail naturally, but none should fall to predators who weaponize that trust. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. New case referred by the FBI. Possible international money laundering through a chain of restaurants. Team meeting tomorrow. 8 a.m. sharp, I replied. Let's save another dream. This was my life now. Not the quiet compliance consulting I'd originally envisioned, but something more vital. Every day brought new challenges, new victims to protect, new criminals to expose. Lauren had tried to destroy me, but instead had forged me into something stronger. If you've ever faced betrayal from someone you trusted, if you've ever been blamed for someone else's crimes, if you've ever felt isolated in your fight for justice, remember this. You are not alone. Your truth matters. Your survival inspires others. And sometimes the greatest revenge against those who try to break you is simply refusing to stay broken. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. Have you ever faced betrayal in business or family? How did you find the strength to fight back? What would you have done in my situation? Please share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe to hear more stories of triumph over adversity, and share this with anyone who needs reminder that justice, though sometimes delayed, is worth fighting for. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, your small dreams matter just as much as anyone's grand ambitions. Protect them, nurture them, and never let anyone convince you that your integrity is worth less than their empire. Until next time, stay strong, stay smart, and stay true to who you are. The world needs more people who choose light over darkness, truth over deception, and justice over easy surrender. You might be the hero someone needs, even if you don't feel heroic. Trust me, I know.